Today I'm going to show you a 2011 action thriller film titled Blitz. Be ready for spoilers ahead. The movie opens up with Detective Sergeant Tom Brant, a hot-headed police officer from a turbulent southeast London police station. He wakes up to the noise outside, and when he checks through the window of his room, he spots robbers trying to steal someone's vehicle. Tom, instead of calling the police, decides to confront them by himself. Initially warns them and tells them to cease their actions to avoid trouble. However, the boys refuse to listen, and one produces a knife, ready to fight him. Tom beats the thieves up very badly with a hockey stick and tells them that if he ever sees them again, he will kill them. Tom gets out of there, but the next day, the news spreads that Tom beat up some innocent boys very badly, and the media is targeting him and his whole department after this incident. Brant's superiors warn him to control his actions. The whole department is worried about him, so they send him to a police psychologist who mentions incidents involving bugging the superintendent's office, beating a person unconscious in a billiards hall, and the earlier assault on the three boys. However, Brandt pays no heed and even starts to smoke in front of him. When the man tries to stop him, Brandt becomes rude and threatens him before he walks out on him. He goes back to the police station, where he is approached by Police Constable Elizabeth Falls asking to help her in passing her sergeant's exam. Brandt gives her a little bit of advice to give it some time as she has come out of rehab recently. Falls had previously worked undercover for the drug squad and became addicted and visibly looks depressed. Later, Tom heads to see Chief Inspector Bruce Roberts, who's just lost his wife. They go to the morgue to see her body, and Bruce is understandably wrecked. Tom, trying to be a good friend, takes Bruce out for a drink. As they drink, Tom tries to cheer up Bruce, and he is somewhat successful. However, things take a violent turn when a policewoman walking down the street, a man in a hood comes in front of her and shoots her point blank. Tom gets to know this and reaches the scene of the crime. Everybody asks him about Bruce, but he tells them that he still mourns the death of his beloved wife, so he will not be working for a while. However, the murder of a police officer is not something they can ignore. They call a temporary inspector to fill in for Bruce. The man's name is Porter Nash, but the other officers do not like him, and it's evident they do not want to work under his command because the word on the street is that Porter is gay. However, it has been made abundantly clear to them by a superior officer that they will work under Porter, leaving them with no alternative. To Porter's surprise, he finds an unlikely ally in the hot-headed, gruff detective, Sergeant Tom, who has a history of violent incidents. While the investigation is ongoing, Elizabeth is visited by a friend, a young gang member nicknamed Metal, who is afraid his gang might have actually killed someone. Promising him to look into the situation, she tells the boy that this is the last time she is doing him this favor and says that if the man is dead, he will have to leave the city, and if the man is alive, he will have to leave the gang. She then goes to see Tom, and after listening to the whole story, Tom asks her to see Craig. Elizabeth then meets Detective Craig, who agrees to help if Elizabeth goes on a date with him. Later, a reporter, Harold Dunlop, receives a call from the man named Barry and tells him that he is the police killer and his work is not just finished yet. He is going to target more police officers in the upcoming days. He asks Dunlop to pick between 7 and 8, and when Dunlop picks 8, Barry tells him that's the number of cops he will kill. As he talks, he goes to another police officer and shoots him as well. The southeast London station is thrown into chaos due to the shootings, and they start to arrest all the criminals in the city. They contact all of their spies and instruct them to stay more active than ever. Brandt meets with an informant, Radner, who points him in the direction of Barry, telling him that Barry had previously boasted about setting a police dog on fire for practice. Brandt later meets Nash and tells him about his personal problem of recurring blackouts. Nash tells him that Brandt might be experiencing burnout based on his personal experience, as well as confiding that he once attacked a pedophile in his house as there was not sufficient evidence to convict him. Brandt tells him about the lead, and they both decide to visit Barry's apartment. When Barry opens the door, he finds the police officers in front of him. He gets a little nervous at first, but being a very shrewd killer, he keeps himself calm. Tom recognizes Barry as the man he beat up in a fight in a billiard hall a year earlier. Although Tom and Porter visit Barry's apartment, they cannot find any evidence against him. He goes on to make fun of Barry and gets out of there with Porter. Barry panics after the visit and right away takes some of his stuff and immediately goes out to hide it somewhere. However, seeing Barry leave, Radner sifts through his rubbish and finds a parking receipt. Then decides to conduct an investigation of his own and eventually discovers the seemingly abandoned car, where Barry keeps the trophies of his kills, confirming that Barry is the killer. The scene then transitions to Bruce going to a store to get some liquor, and it hits him that he is destroying his life. He decides that he is going to get back to work. He later reports to the police station and gets to work again. As he goes out, Barry follows Roberts to his apartment, and after a struggle, he kills him by pulverizing his head with a hammer. Realizing his trail of forensic evidence, he steals a police uniform and Roberts's badge and burns the flat. He then calls Dunlop and tells him about the murder and that he is now calling himself Blitz. Nash informs Brandt about the incident, who gets shocked because Bruce was a dear friend. Meanwhile, in the parking lot, Barry puts all his stuff in the boot of a car, unbeknownst to him that Radner had been trailing him all along. Radnor opens it and finds his stuff and immediately calls Dunlop and asks for £50,000 in exchange for revealing the killer's identity. The reporter agrees and asks him where he has to come. The informant gives him the address of the parking lot. Elsewhere, Elizabeth goes to dinner with Stokes and asks him to bury the name of the boy. Stokes agrees in return for a drink tomorrow night, which she agrees to. On the other hand, Dunlop meets Radnor, and they go to the parking garage, where Radnor shows him the car and the evidence in it. However, Barry sees this and quickly removes the evidence from the car. He follows them to a bar and kills Radnor in the men's toilet before Radnor can reveal his identity to Dunlop. Dunlop tells Brandt and Nash about his meeting with Radnor and the location of the parked car. When they arrive, however, the car is empty, and the building's security cameras are faulty, giving them no evidence on Barry. Tom and a fellow police constable come to realize that all of Blitz's victims so far have been police officers who have arrested Barry in the past, and that Elizabeth is most likely the next victim. Falls and Stokes meet for a drink as Barry watches them from across the street. Elizabeth, after coming home from her date with Stokes, is attacked by Barry but saved by Metal, who is killed in the ensuing struggle. Before Barry can attack Elizabeth again, the police arrive and decides to deal with her later. Tom and Porter decide to release a picture of Barry to the media to flush him out, which eventually, after a lengthy chase, leads to Barry's capture. However, there is no concrete evidence against him, so after 48 hours and an interrogation that does not yield results, the police are forced to release Barry. Exasperated, Tom and Nash devise a plot to trick Barry, knowing that he will want to take revenge on Tom for the billiard hall fight. Barry then infiltrates the funeral of Chief Inspector Bruce, dressed in Bruce's uniform. During the service, Tom leaves, followed by Barry. Tom leads Barry to the top of a parking garage, only to reveal that Tom and Porter had switched places along the route. Surprised by a hidden Tom, Barry is mercilessly beaten, overpowered, and relieved of his gun. Explaining that they will never find enough evidence to convict Barry legally, Tom concludes that they are now in a convenient situation. Since Barry is dressed as a police officer, they can shoot him with his own gun and it will look as if Barry was just another of Blitz's victims. Tom returns the favor by shooting Barry point blank. Porter then goes on to get rid of all the evidence. After Barry is killed, Tom decides that he needs to teach a lesson to the reporter, so he sets the dogs free on Dunlop for writing articles against him and spreading lies about the police department. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more videos like this.